Bible prophecy shows the United Kingdom had to leave the European Union. Britain's historical role in Europe, Part 3. To recap on the previous two parts of this series, the European Union is the revived Roman Empire, and it is satanic in origin. Since the Reformation and the break with Roman Catholicism, Britain looked to the oceans for its future rather than to the continent of Europe. However, European wars continued as the power struggles in Europe continued. Britain has always acted as a check to any single power becoming dominant in Europe. Below is a short list of attempts to establish a European superpower that have been opposed by Great Britain since the Reformation. Philip of Spain. Philip saw himself as the defender of Catholic Europe against the Protestant Reformation. He sent 3 separate armadas against England to defeat the Protestant nation in 1588, 1596 and 1597. All 3 failed, and a massive cost involved helped bring about the end of the Spanish Empire. Louis XIV. Louis XIV wanted to control Europe and was involved in 3 major continental wars. Britain saw its role as maintaining the balance of power in Europe and opposed any one power gaining control. Most significantly, during the War of the Spanish Succession, Britain was part of the Grand Alliance which opposed France and her allies. The Battle of Blenheim in 1704 is probably the most significant victory, inflicting immense casualties on the French and destroying the myth of French invincibility. Napoleon Bonaparte wished to dominate the whole of the European continent, but was ultimately defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. It is said that one day he gathered all his top officers together around a large table. Laid across that table was a map of Europe with a big red spot on it. That spot was Britain. Pounding his fist on a table, Napoleon raged, "If it weren't for that red spot, I could have it all." Kaiser Wilhelm II was the last emperor of Germany. He wanted to establish Germany as a world power. He dismissed his Chancellor Bismarck and took control of his country's policy making. Bismarck had sought to maintain the delicate balance of power in Europe, but the Kaiser embarked on a much more aggressive course of action, advancing Germany's world power ambitions. Once again, Britain took a leading role in opposing Germany's militaristic ambitions. Britain was extremely reluctant to get involved in a European war, as it only had a small professional army at the outbreak of World War I. An ultimatum was sent to Germany in August 1914 to withdraw its army from Belgium. The ultimatum was ignored, and Britain had no choice but to come into the war on the side of its allies. Adolf Hitler wanted to establish Germany as the master race, and once again tried to control the whole of Europe. Once again, Britain and her allies responded and defeated his ambitions. Hitler was probably the nearest of all the little antichrists to the final Antichrist or beast. He seems to have been under the control of Satan, and he was fueled by such a hatred of the Jews that he prioritized their destruction at the expense of winning the war. It's interesting to note that Britain has generally managed to win its wars even when unprepared and facing superior numbers. However, this has only been because it is usually fighting in the right cause. When fighting in the wrong cause, such as in the American War of Independence, it has lost. In the case of Europe, Britain has always opposed European superpowers, which has been the right cause. God will not allow any one power to control Europe until the final brief reign of the final Antichrist. There was a period in the early 18th century when the mere appearance of British redcoats on the battlefield seemed to guarantee victory. I want to finish with a quote. from a real person, Captain Blackadder, who was an officer in the Duke of Marlborough's army at the Battle of Blenheim. He was commentating on Allied casualties. This victory has indeed cost a great deal of blood, especially to the English. I was always of the opinion that the English would pay for it in this country, and when I consider how on all occasions we conquer, yet with much blood spilt, I am at a loss to know what the reason may be. Perhaps it is that our cause is good, therefore God gives us success in our enterprises, but that our persons are very wicked, and therefore our carcasses are strewed like dung on the earth in Germany. This is the best explanation I can find of Britain's role in Europe. We have been a sinful nation, but in regards to Europe, we have been doing God's will in opposing superpowers, and therefore have had success in wars, but at a terrible cost. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, you can find more information at prophecy-workshop.com.